Hey guys, Ryan Steinolfson here, and I just wanted to. Okay, looks like there were some errors there. So Ryan Steinolfson here. I'm here with S. Lee, and he's with Tex May, and he is one of my business partners for the AI side of the business. Um, I am, as I said, Ryan Steinolfson. I own an agency called Accelerate Marketing. We've been helping local businesses generate an extra $50,000 a month or more with their local marketing efforts or digital marketing efforts online, primarily through the optimization of Google local service ads and Google Business Profile, their Google Business Profile pages. And S has been involved in the AI space for 8 years, 9 years.
8 years. Yep. Yeah. Started with messaging AI. We used to be the top 10 search results when you Googled it. Um, now we're only the top. And we were in messaging, and AI has been around for a while. And I think now it's getting a lot more real for people to say, hey, how could I be using this in my day-to-day, life, personal life, or in business? And we've just been seeing a lot more traffic come through. And you know, like we'll talk today probably a bit about just our experience with
Yep.
having people adopt it, because I think there's an initial, there's like that product cycle curve where with every new technology at the very beginning there's like the early adopters, and then there's the kind of like the peak of hype, and then like the trough of disillusionment, and then the gradual, like, the market adopts it to its full
Yep.
potential, right? And I think that's what's happening with generative AI, because for most people, it wasn't a real thing. It was things, engineers played with, academics, and now with ChatGPT, you probably saw that initial hype curve in late 2022, and it's probably lasting till today. And we've gone through so many deployments with businesses that, like, I think it'd be interesting just to talk about our experience with that and what the challenges are, um, what the feedback's been, because I think building toys is one thing, and then building technology that acts as an employee is another.
Yeah, I agree. And we've gradually gone from building toys, so to speak, with your experience building relationship agents. We'll call them agents or bots, whatever you want to call them. Back in the early days of you doing this back 8 years ago, and those are fascinating, and a lot of people like them. But really, what's more interesting is how can these agents be used to help businesses make more money, make an extra $50,000 a month, and they can replace many different aspects of a business, and we'll talk about that today. From customer service to intake. I just talked to an attorney today, and we did the AI example. We had him do the demo, and immediately he was like, "Wow!" When the AI responded immediately, as well or better than one of his intake persons could, he was blown away. He was very much amazed at how quickly it responded, how precise the information was, because the AI has access to every bit of information. If you upload a knowledge base to it, it knows immediately. You don't have to train it. I mean, you literally train it by uploading documents. That's how quickly the training process can be. And then you train it once and you don't have to train it again. So that's the beauty of having an AI agent, is that once it learns your business, it's an employee of yours. I mean, Elon Musk is going to have, an actual robot, in the house of every America, if he has his way, with the same type of brain technology that we're using to power these agents. And so if you can have the same technology operate, all of the agility that it takes to move a hand, imagine what it can do with, just managing a steam cleaning business.
And I've kind of said that, like, with this AI, there's there's all kinds of press about it, right? And a lot of it is about it hasn't lived up to its hype. And I don't think that's true because I've actually seen people
Yeah.
almost completely change a mindset about how they run their business. And the only reason that they might complain is because they go, "Oh, well, it doesn't do things as well as I would do it." And I
Yeah.
always bring it back to the, well, do your employees do things as well as you do it, right?
Yeah.
And what's your process for training them and getting them kind of up to speed? Do you have and for every company it's slightly different, right?
Yeah.
And the organizations that kind of have a lot more of this documentation and process are that much farther ahead because
Yep.
they've had to think about how they train their people, right?
Yeah.
They go, we have SOPs, we have scripts, we have instruction manuals, we have troubleshoot FAQ manuals, right? And this is prime information for training your bot. And
Yep.
by the way, with an employee, you tell them to read all of that, and they're the smartest employee. They're still going to make mistakes because conversations will go off script, right?
Yeah.
And if you have a robust training and monitoring and call quality, like uh, process set up, um, which most companies don't, right? Like you would say, okay, well, I want to be able to see all the conversations my employees are having. I want to be able to audit that. And then I want to be able to then have a direct communication channel with that employee to say, hey, look, when you said these things, I would say it like this. That is as good as it gets, but that's still a laborious process for any business with humans.
Yep.
Whereas with AI, like you said, you train it once and you go through that process and it's set. But you still have to go through that process.
Right. Yeah, you have to go through the process. So your point is, and I agree, if you've got SOPs, if you've got process documents, if you've got anything that can help the person understand or help the AI understand how you operate your business and what it needs to know in order to have the type of conversation that you want the agent to have, then it makes things even easier. So the businesses
Yep.
that have processes in place are the ones that are going to be able to take advantage of this technology very, very rapidly. And also the businesses that are willing to have a little bit, as you always like to say, risk tolerance. It's like, what is your risk tolerance? How much tolerance do you have to take a risk on this particular technology that can revolutionize your business? I mean, when I was talking to this partner in this firm that is located in the Southeast U.S. just about an hour ago, he was great because we did the demo. We showed him how the agent works, how it communicates, how it can answer questions that have to do with personal injury. And there are agents, by the way, that are taking people all the way from the beginning of the conversation to, you have a case, to, okay, let's sign you up. I'm going to text you over the documents so that you can sign. That is totally able to be done today. Okay.
Yep.
I just want people to understand that if you want that, that is totally capable of happening. Okay. The other thing is, and what we do is we set a basic criteria in the beginning. Our first goal is just to have the agent answer the phone, to take the information down, to assess the client, and then to notify our client of the conversation happening, and then to send a transcript. So there's a voice recording of the entire call, and there's a transcript of it, and then there's also same with text. And by the way, what we do is we can put an agent on one phone number for both texting and voice, so that if you're running, for example, Google local service ads, you can put that same number in the messaging section of your LSA platform, and now you are out competing all of your competitors. Why? Because you're having an agent answer the message leads, and now you're getting that blurb below your ad that says typically replies in minutes, and Google's ranking you higher. And therefore, that's how we actually help businesses. One of the many ways that we help businesses generate another $50,000 or more a month in revenue, very, very quickly, because we just give them a competitive advantage. And we're using AI to gather reviews. We're actually sending outbound messages. We're building it right now for the platform to send out outbound messages to people in order to gather reviews. First, if the message is okay, hey, we went and serviced your house today, we cleaned your carpets, Ted was out there. Is it okay if we ask you for a review? Is that okay? So we ask for permission first, and then when the person says yes, we send the link over that takes them right to the review, and then we actually text a suggested review to the person so that they can copy and paste it. So our conversion rate goes way up because we just keep it really, really simple. And after doing this for 15 years, I've realized that that's what it takes. It takes making it simple. We don't want to add things to our clients' plates. We want to take things away, and that's what the AI can do if it's used correctly. And if you have a correct risk tolerance. We had a client today that, we were very clear on the 4 deliverables on what our goals are for the first agent. And, they're saying, okay, can we get the agent to respond correctly here? And yeah, we can fine tune it, in terms of the delay and the latency and things like that. But, it's going to get better over time. The businesses that are going to win are the ones that start early, is what I'd like to say. So with that, yeah.
I mean, the comment I would add is, with any of the businesses that have deployed this successfully, probably the first thing I said in the scoping call was to understand what their risk tolerance is. And I go, the more of a risk tolerance you have, the faster this will move. And time is of the essence for all these people using AI, because if your competitors are moving faster than you, right, they have an infinitely scalable acquisition channel, an intake channel. And so the reason, and for it'd be helpful to kind of walk through kind of what specifically that means, right? So with a couple clients, they would test it out themselves, because we built the AI for them. It's done within a couple of days, right? And then we have them test it and act as if they were a customer, have their internal team act like it was a customer. And one of the most common speed bumps is they try to start dealing with the edge cases to begin with, right? Because a conversation can go any which way, and they try to troll it, right? And we put in guardrails pretty in a standard way to say, hey, look, don't talk about anything unrelated to this business. If I talk about anything controversial, don't respond and change the topic, right? And that usually captures a lot of them. But what you find is a lot of businesses will start manufacturing a lot of things, and start, while they test, start asking these things. And we go, we could spend this time with you, and that's, to fix these things, these edge cases, but are they real, right? It's real to you because you want to go a little farther than what your customers would try. But I urge them to make the thing live. It's almost like if you hired an intern, right? And you're like, I'm nervous about it answering the calls. I have to talk to it for a while. The fastest way for your intern to learn and for you to realize what's wrong with your training process is to make it live, and to have that intern take those calls and just sit there and monitor that intern, right? That's the most important thing, because you might end up spending weeks thinking about this edge case and saying like, oh yeah, I don't think it's ready. But if you were really serious about this, no, you deploy this to as many people as possible and be vigilant about what that intern is saying, right? To be able to go, okay, it's had 50 conversations. Let me look and see, what the biggest problem was. And then almost like lay out, because it's always going to have issues, right? If you get hung up on each of these as they come, it's going to be, you're going to take sometimes 2 steps forward and then 2 steps back and then 3 steps back. And that is very, very likely. And that's the natural inclination, right? But we always tell clients, like, make it live. A lot of the problems that you think in your mind are problems are not real problems. When you start, looking back.
I agree. And in the deployments that we've had, the key really is, I think what you're saying, is that it's important to go live as soon as possible, because when you go live as quickly as possible, you're able to find out, first of all, if those edge cases are even going to happen. And secondly, you're going to find out a lot more of edge cases a lot faster. And by doing that, you're going to be that much further ahead of your competition. And that's really what we want to do. I mean, if you really want to leverage these strategic advantages, the key is getting in as early as possible, like we saw with Google pay-per-click, or Facebook, Meta, or having a website, or doing SEO back in the day. All of these are examples of the businesses that actually started doing these things early, just like with AI and setting up an agent. It's like, deploy it quickly, get it to learn fast, because it's just like a little kid. You're teaching a little kid, you're giving it all those edge cases, you're feeding it through a knowledge base, which our AI has. And that's the other thing. If you're gonna set up an AI agent, I think there's really three things that you want to look for. Number one, you want to look at their reviews, right? Like, look at the feedback that they've gotten. I would encourage you to go and look at some of the feedbacks that some of these larger players have gotten, like OpenAI. Like, look at the reviews. Type in, or not OpenAI, but Air. Sorry, OpenAI. Sorry, Air. Air AI. They had a challenge. Like, they still have a challenge, because they have deployments of like 20, and we have a friend of ours who had a $50,000 deployment for their AI, and all they have is a prompt to show for it, and they didn't really get anything. And this reflects in their reviews. So you definitely want to look at some of the reviews that are out there of the agency that you're wanting to work with. What's the feedback that they've gotten? And then look at, can they deploy on one phone number both a voice and a text agent? And or can they actually give you an agent that has a knowledge base and that can be edited or fine-tuned, or what do you call it? What's the word for it? Not fine-tuning, but response.
It's reinforcement learning.
Reinforcement learning, yeah.
And by the way, that's what you do with every employee, right? If they do well, they get a raise. If they're not doing their job poorly, you micromanage. Like, that is reinforcement learning, right? How does the employee knew whether they did the task well or not? Well, did you have to speak to them afterwards? Did you give them a pat on the back? And this is, in a way, this whole process of training AI is very similar to training people, humans, right? And so, like, when clients might say, like, hey, look, the AI doesn't do this, like, I may not be happy with the product. Well, it actually reflects on your training process, right? Yep. Like, how do you treat employees? Do they get feedback? Are you there giving them live conversations and clients and customers to deal with, and then going back and saying, hey, good job on that, but this thing I might change, right? And so, we just spoke with one that actually had that experience. They went with Air, right? And what's interesting is we got on the call and he's just like, well, I don't need to be involved in this. And we're like, okay, interesting. So you're telling me you run a firm and you don't need to be involved in training the employees, and you expect that things are just going to work magically. Like this, that's going to translate in the quality of the people in your firm, right? And so this is a particular client where we're on the fence on taking in or not, because they don't realize that, like, hey, if on the first date and you're thinking about AI and you're like, I'm not going to put in the process to make this thing smarter, to do the reinforcement learning, right? Yep. Then you're probably not a good client, right? Because what's going to happen, and that's why we have the risk tolerance discussion, is like be willing for it to talk, make it live, have the internal resources to go in and monitor, and then when it says something wrong, correct it, and go through that process. Sure, it sounds like a long process, but it's, compared to humans, it's really not.
Yeah, and I think that's the other thing is the fourth thing that I would also look for in an agency is their ability to set the right expectations with you. Because we learned the hard way, when we brought on our first clients, and that's how you can tell if they're actually bringing on their first clients, because they're going to say, it can do this, it can set the calendar for you, it can book an appointment for you, like we did in the beginning, and it's just like, that's on top of what we're building in the beginning for those 4 features. We're just looking to deliver on those 4 features initially. then we can see, okay, what's the next step we want to take? Do we want to do a calendar integration with you? What is your calendar integration? Is it Calendly? Is it Google? Do you want to just text the link, or do you want it to actually take the information down verbally? There's a lot of different moving parts that you want to know, and only an agency that's been doing this for quite some time is going to know those questions to ask you, and even going to talk about that on the first initial deployment. Because in the initial deployment, we're just trying to get for local service ads in particular, which is where we're starting, because we can get the most advantage. We can get the most bang for our buck. It's the only platform that any agency, any digital marketing agency can work with that can actually generate more business for you, just because you're having the AI answer the phone within 30 seconds and respond to message leads within 30 seconds. That's why we start there. It's because we've got experience as an agency, a digital marketing agency first, that we know where to even deploy it and then how to deploy it. Because the other thing and this is the other thing I would look for, a fifth thing, I guess, is you want to look for an agency that knows how to put together the correct plumbing. Meaning, you don't just put the AI first in the beginning, because you want your intake to have a shot at answering the phone. You don't want to just get rid of your entire intake team right off the bat. I mean, that is probably going to be coming in the next 6 to 12 months. But right now, it's a slow integration. Okay. So the way that we do it, and the way that we recommend that you do it, and this is what I would ask any agency that you're wanting to go potentially work with, is, do you know how to set up a 20-second delay? Meaning, let my humans intake, human intake team answer the phone for the first 20 seconds. If they don't, then I want it to be flipped over to the AI. And if you're using Go High Level or CallRail or Ring Central or any of those call tracking platforms, those platforms will allow you to do that. So I would really encourage you, if you're thinking about using, AI, to think about at least these 5 things. And I'm sure I'll probably think of more, as we continue down this conversation. But, like you said, you really have to set the proper expectations with these businesses. And if the business is not willing to put in the time to train the new employee, then, because let's call it what it really is a new employee, then really, I mean, it's like how you do anything is how you do everything. They probably don't have a really good training program for their humans. Yeah. So really, I mean, it really just comes down to that. It's not any different. So this is the mind shift that has to happen as an employee or as a business owner. It's like, okay, I'm basically hiring a new person. And that's one of the reasons why that we're really trying to expand out our deployment and the usage of the AI. Once we get it live on the local service ads platform, we want it to go live on. And by the way, if you have any questions, please put any questions that you want. We'll answer them here. If you're thinking about doing a deployment of an agent in your business, please let us know. You've got a guy here, S, that's got almost 8 years of experience, setting up AI agents, and he knows the inner workings of the vector databases and all the the tech speak, and he can go as far down that rabbit hole as you want. But today we're just talking about how to meet the expectations of the businesses that we're talking to, and how you can identify whether or not you're working with an agency, an AI agency that really can help you get to the next level, and what to look for. So, and
I would say it's really interesting working with different businesses, because you run the gamut, right? There are people who have process and controls that's like, hey, look, I've not only trained my employees, but here's a very clear script, right? First call goes to this, you talk about these things, you answer these things, and then next call is this, right? And what we find going through deployments with businesses is when you start asking these questions, the business owner finally realizes, I don't have a process for this.
Right.
They start seeing all the holes in what their business was, because they have to run through it with an employee right now, right?
Yep.
And I think it's a great exercise whether people are, excited to have AI do all of the work or little part of the work is it forces them to start thinking about these aspects of their business. And I think it's helpful for them, every business owner, to know exactly that. I mean, a lot of times the people we will deploy with end up being not the business owner. The business owner wants to make that decision to go down this route, and somebody else deploys and implements. But because they're doing this, we force a conversation between the two of them, right? So there's a
Yep.
lot of diagnostics that could happen. And I think it's better for a business to have gone through a process like this. And we find, different risk tolerances, because a deployment can take a week, it could take a year, right? Where the business goes, I'm still not sure about this. This is really high stakes stuff. I don't want the AI answering this, and I need to be made comfortable over time, over watching the transcripts, to
Yep.
almost loosen those reins. And
Yep.
so again, it comes down to the risk tolerance piece. And I may even, there's some deployments with, okay, home repair, right?
Yep.
We've had calls where people go, hey, I do home repair, and I just want to put in a service order for my tech to come out, right?
Yeah.
But then they're always like, well, actually, is the AI capable of answering these questions? Like, I got a leak in my sink. Can it just, how when you call tech support and they're like, sir, have you turned it off and on?
Yeah.
Like, you start going through that process. And so there are some upstart businesses that go, hey, look, if the AI could do services more than what our current employee is doing, I want to start exploring that. And can it? And we had an audio-visual equipment installer that said, hey, look, I have 500 manuals, right? That says this plugs into this. And could you even create an AI that becomes an audio-visual assembler as an independent product? Because I provide this type of service, and we've just blown their minds with what their ability is with the knowledge base. I go, give me 10 instruction manuals. All right,
Yeah.
it's uploaded. Now ask it a question about the audio box, like 482X.
Yeah, and Tatiana, my partner, did the same thing because she does a lot of, she's a raw vegan coach. So she uploaded a 300-page PDF from Viktoras Kovinkis. He's Kovinskis. He's like the grandfather of, vegan, raw veganism, etc. So it was one of his books. And then she asked a question because she read the book. Like, that was very specific, that she knew was somewhere in that 300 pages. And boom, just like you're talking about, it gave the answer, and it gave like 10 different deviations from it because it just consumed that 300 pages in less than a second. It just consumed it. And so this is where you can feed it that knowledge base, which is its brain, so that you can now create an agent or a bot for just about anything. So like for us, we've created an agent that's just about Google local service ads. So anything that has to do with Google local service ads, we can basically answer questions on. If you go to our 619-304-5155 phone number, that's the number that we want people to go to in order to have a conversation about, okay, what services do you offer? Okay, we offer Google local service ads, we offer Google business profile optimization, and we do reputation management. And they might say, okay, well, what is Google local service ads optimization? And then it goes through the whole, and it gives, like, right out of the box, it knows very well what it is, what Google local service ads is. And then you can also say, you can give it a knowledge base of the entire Google local service ads, like printout of what the rules and regulations are. And so now it becomes a resource. So people can say, okay, is, for example, Google local service ads available in Huntsville, Alabama for nail polish, or a nail company, or nail, whatever you call them, or a carpet cleaning company, and it'll tell you, because otherwise that information is kind of tough to find. I mean, you kind of have to dig a little bit, and then you can find out questions like, okay, well, can I have a Google local service ads page if I don't have a Google business profile page? You can ask questions like that, and it'll know. And it's like having Google customer service like on speed dial. So
And imagine it's like using the app. It's like, oh, I'm trying to change my telephone number. Where do I go? Because it's read that instruction manual. It's like, go to settings, location, additional location. And And this brings up a good point. We've kind of said like, hey, look, as people adopt AI, right? There's a lot of companies that are even teaching their clients, especially coaching companies, how to use ChatGPT, right? And we're like, why would you do that? Why wouldn't you have a branded version of ChatGPT and call it whatever your name is, AI, and have your clients be chatting with your own product?
Yep.
Because if you think about how these agents are built, they're powered by an LLM. So like if you didn't give it a prompt, give it any training material, it is ChatGPT, but
Yep.
it is yours, right? And so in theory, you guys have this agent on your telephone number, right? But if you give it enough Google logo service like instruction manuals, training materials, it could be the default bot for how do I
Yeah. Well, Google hasn't created it yet. This is what I'm saying. Everybody is so far. This is so far advanced ahead of the game. Ahead of Google hasn't even created an agent for its platforms in order to help people get more information about it. Like, so we're doing it. Like, and by the way, like if you want to text the word audit to 619-304-5155, we before created an audit that is created in the Go High Level platform. That's a CRM with a whole bunch. It's like a Swiss Army knife for digital marketing. I mean, you can create landing pages with it, and so we created a keyword. We created a keyword system where basically, if somebody texts the word audit to that number, then they would get an audit very quickly. There's the thumbs up again. So they would get they would get an audit that's done automatically in the Go High Level platform. Why would we do that though, when we can actually, and this is what really happens when any business starts using AI, is they start rethinking, like we are, even as a digital marketing agency, like how we're actually doing our business. Because why would we have a sterile number spit back at the person when an AI agent can walk the person through question by question and give them a numerical value based on how they're answering every question, and potentially have a back and forth with the person, as opposed to just giving them a result at the end of answering 10 questions in the audit that Go High Level would do. So whenever you have like a form or a landing page, it's really important to try to rethink like how you can leverage AI, not only to create a bot or an agent that can help answer questions like we're talking about for local service ads, but also where you can actually create a much more interactive and favorable and positive experience with the person that's engaging with your business, that helps them to understand more about your business and potentially allows you to create a deeper connection with them before a human has the conversation, or maybe even a deep enough connection that the person then says, oh, I've learned a lot. I know that now that you've gone through this audit process with me, that my LSA is definitely not optimized. I scored a 50 out of 100, and you've given me all the details that I need. I know that I want to increase my monthly revenue by $50,000 a month. And I know that from what you're telling me that, when I looked at my response rate where you showed me to look, because I didn't know where to look before, and you showed me where to look on my LSA platform. Now I know that my response rate, in other words, the percentage of times that I'm responding to calls in less than 30 seconds is like less than 40, 50%. Now I know that I really need help with it. And when you sent me over that, when I answered question 5 about response rate, and you sent me that screenshot that showed examples of how when you help businesses, improve their response rate to like 95% of the time where the calls were answered in 30 seconds, and you decrease their response time for responding to message lead down to less than 30 seconds, that it increased the overall lead volume. Well, now I know, based on just hard facts and data, that I need your services. I need another one of you. I need an agent, and and how do I do that? And then the agent can even go down the process. I mean, we've even taken people through that 10-minute process of setting up their own agent, like on one of these lives, which is very easy. And if you guys want to do that, you can just go to Google and like I said, S has been doing this for a long time, so he's got really good rankings. Why? Because he's put his agent on his website so that people can see that. Because the agent is on the website and people engage with it. This is how I found him, by the way, a while ago. Is I typed in messaging AI or AI messaging, and as S said, he's one of the top results there. Text May, that's spelled MEI, and because I and everybody else sits there and has 5-10 minute conversations with the agent, it improves his ranking because Google watches to see whether or not people are staying on the page. And having an agent, an AI agent on your website that is actually having a conversation significantly improves your rankings on Google, so that you rank higher with your website and your Google Business Profile page as well. So
yeah. I mean, the statistic there is on our website because we started really with an app. When we put in a generative AI, we'll call it chatbots. Agents, I kind of feel like do real world things. Chatbots just chat.
Yeah.
When we put that thing in, our site traffic went up 10 times, right? And if you think about it, what this AI can do for your website is it actually makes a website interactive now, right? Mm-hmm. If I was to look for, like a landscaping company, right? And I searched it, and they weren't getting into the, local service ads or like the local results, but they just clicked that top organic web page that comes up, right? What they're really trying to find is somebody to talk to. And websites have been static information. Here's our services. Here's our local area. But if you think about what that visitor wants at that time, they clearly have an intent, right, to get services.
Yep.
And if you allow them the channel to start asking the questions, so as opposed to a website that talks about just, what are we, make you click through the pages. If you actually open that interaction with a, what kind of landscape service are you looking for, right? That immediately opens up that discussion. And if the user is able to, the visitor is able to, ask about pricing, your service area, like what kind of work you've done, right?
Yep.
Like that immediately builds a connection that you can't have right now. And right now, literally every business is doing it wrong, right? Yeah. Where they have, call to book an appointment or text here, or, God forbid they have one of those little, what we call dumb chat widgets at the bottom where it's a glorified FAQ, right?
Yeah.
Most of the time you're just like, I can't get my answer from there anyways. Like, what's the damn point, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we basically upped the game, and that's why our traffic went up 10 times because Google was just like, hey, whoever searched this for whatever reason, they stayed on the page for 30 minutes and never clicked another link. They clicked on number 1. They didn't click on number 2 or 3. They must have gotten what they need. Great. Rank them high.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's, it's time on site. That's really what it is. It's time on site. And, so we've got and that's a great point. I mean, all the agents or most of the bots that are on people's websites are just glorified FAQs. They're static. They're not going to have a conversation with the person. There's not going to be any interaction. And that's the reason why you want to connect an agent to your text and your a text agent and a voice agent to one phone number. Okay. So that we can do that. Okay. So JK said, I called a lawn service company and it was answered by an AI agent that I had conversation with. At first, I thought it was a real person. Yes. And by the way, our agents, we let people know, we're like, we say right up front, we have our agents identify themselves as an agent. Like, I'm Ryan, I'm an AI agent for Accelerate Marketing. What can I help you with? And by the way, at any time in this conversation, if you want to be transferred to a human, you can just press 1, So we make it very, very simple. And that's a great point. I mean, you can't tell the difference. And actually, I prefer agents because I know that their memory is exact. Like if the correct setup has been done for the agent and the correct knowledge base has been uploaded, then you can get the answers that you want faster than with a human being. Absolutely. There's no question about it. Okay, what do you think of fetch.ai?
Well,
yeah.
I'm not familiar with it, but since JK had just put it in, I looked it up, and I go, this may have the same problem that every technology company has, right? Which when I go to an an AI agent site, and unless I could see the product right then and there, I don't believe it, because 9 out of 10 that I come across, right, they don't have a product that they can show, or it's too technical. And you think about the business owner, right? They don't manage their own websites. How in the world are they going to go build AI, right?
Yep.
And we've tried to do that with our platform, make it so simple, nothing technical, point and click, explain, like just type in plain English what this is. And so Fetch, I'm taking a look at their things and I go, this is still a little bit more on the technical side. So you just have to ask yourself a question. You want an AI agent, you found a company all about AI agents, right? Within 10 minutes, were you able to create one? If the answer is no, then I don't think that's something, like, at least personally, because I look at so many competitor sites, and really this is how I even filter out like who we work with. Is I find their website, they say they do AI, and look, we don't want to have to build everything. We would love to find new platforms that's taking a piece of it, right, and made it, modularized it and made it so that, like, if we have a client that needs this thing, we can plug right in, right? And so I come across a lot of these websites that it's like AI agent builder. Okay, can you build one? Can you click a couple of buttons and start building there? If not, then you really have to worry about, one, the technical involvement afterwards, right? Or two, like, whether they have a product that could be scaled and used. If you go, look, my business process is intake, people answer the phone and send messages, right? We've given you kind of everything in between. You don't want to be in a place where you have to, have even created a bot there, because they're bot builder platforms. I mean, all the social messaging apps, Discord, Facebook, they say, hey, you can build a bot on our platform, right? Okay. Afterwards, what happens when you want to deploy it, right? Can you deploy it to a telephone number? Could you deploy it into an existing channel? And the answer is no. And so we tell a lot of people, like, go through that exercise as a learning exercise, build on whatever platform you can, but very quickly think about, how do I deploy this, right? Because you're going to end up wasting a bunch of time. The last thing you want is to spend a bunch of time building an AI agent for it not to be able to be live in channels that are helpful to you.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, you want it. And by the way, I think it might make sense for us to eventually do like a workshop. And, if you're a business owner and you want us to add you, to the conversation, we can actually add you in here, and we can build an AI agent for you in less than 10 minutes. So you can let us know. I mean, if you want us to do that, we can definitely build an AI agent for you and then show you and then deploy it. Like, if you're running Google local service ads, let's deploy one for you. Let's do a workshop the next time. We'll you'll see. I mean, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, then please subscribe so that you can get notified when we go live, because we are going to be asking for businesses to to jump in and give us their information. We'll create an agent for you. If you give us your business name, we'll create it for you, and then you can deploy it. You'll see. I mean, we'll be able to have an AI agent. And, I don't know if you want to do a demo, but I mean, we can even demo it. I mean, the one thing that we do and we like to do when we're on a call with people is just call the agent, like, just so that they can actually experience it. When I was on the call today with that attorney that has 7 locations in the Southeast US, I mean, all we did is I sent him over the video from our local service ads channel that has the agent, on the, where we can play it. Where it has a conversation where there's a human that has a conversation with the agent. And that was great. But then when we actually called and demoed it live, and he was able to have a conversation with the agent, like, he was blown away because of how specific the agent was able to be. Okay, so you got another AK. Yeah, a workshop would be great. Okay, so what kind of business do you have? And you tell us, like, what kind
We
of,
can do it right now.
Yeah, we
Like,
can do it right now.
just give us the the business name. We'll do it right now.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, just, you can give us the business name, and for anybody that's watching, I mean, this is how easy it can be. And if, like S said, if another, I guess, a sixth factor that you'd want to look at if before hiring an AI agency, because this is going to be a thing, you're going to hire one in the next year. I guarantee you, you're going to hire an agency in the next year for AI. Okay, so you want to look for one that can actually set up an agent within minutes. Okay, that's the other key, and that can put on one phone number both voice and messaging, so that you can respond to messages on local service ads with the same number that you use to respond to voice. And all you would do is just route the number through your call tracking so that it would point to the AI number. That's how it works. Okay. So, yeah. And just let us know. I mean, look, what other, we can invite, let's see, I can actually, I really want to be able to just invite somebody on the fly. That would be really cool. I think I can, and to have them in the call so that we can have them live, with us. What do you think, S?
Yeah, that would be fantastic. We want to make this as interactive as possible. Just kind of realizing that us kind of, talking about things. It's, for me, it's not real unless I see it. Right?
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna put a comment here, post comment. So here's hopefully you guys got this. I don't know if it's gonna go. So that's the link. Okay, so S is showing you the platform. Okay, so that's the link. I just sent it out to all the streaming platforms. I don't know if anybody's gonna be able to get it, but if you are interested, in jumping on and having a conversation, what S is showing you want to explain what you're showing here, S?
Yep, I'm just going into our platform, messagesimprove.com, clicking that banner, signing up. I have a login, right? And, ABC Lawn Care, right? It's for a business. We have pre-filled prompts. You are a business AI for ABC Lawn Care. Our hours are 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. We do only lawn care and gardening services. Okay.
Yep.
Free consultation. Right. Okay. Submit. Okay. We created the AI agent. I have my telephone number saved, and so it's texted me already. Right now, I just want to chat with it. Right. So this is a testing suite. How can I assist you with lawn care? Do you offer tree cutting services? All right. We specialize only in lawn care and gardening services. So tree cutting isn't something we offer. Okay.
Yep.
I need someone to come out today at 8 p.m. to mow the lawn. Okay. I said, I'm sorry. Our hours 9 to 5 because I popped that in. Right.
Yep.
And that's it. Right. And now, when we talk about the training piece,
are you also, S? I mean, I think it'd be great. Are you able to call it? And like I would love to be able to call it live on the call here so that people can experience it both voice and text.
I could, yeah. Why don't I do that? So the process to connecting a number is a little difficult. Not difficult, but it's more of a process. And so that's what, Ryan's team would handle for you, is just getting that telephone number, doing the A2P registration, and then let's just use the same prompt for voice, right?
Yep.
So there's another one of our bots that we have hooked up, and I can just swap that over. So all service. Okay. All service plumbing. And let's just swap that prompt over, right? Oh, we can't do it on voice right now, actually.
Okay.
Because that, with our voice provider, we have to just connect that same prompt to the voice provider.
Okay, and that's one of the things that we would do as your AI agency. We would that's another thing to mention is that in addition to the A2P registration, we would connect this call or this agent to a voice prompt as well, so that you would have voice and texting capabilities on the same phone number. That's the real key thing here, is that there's agencies out there that can provide texting or voice, but not both on one number.
Yeah. So at least the text one, I mean, I'll show you where when we launch it, we deploy it to a telephone number. You acquire that telephone number and you just pop it in there, and so the voice piece, maybe we kind of do that for a follow-up session, right?
Yes.
Just to go through that process.
Yep.
But yeah, I wanted to just show everybody kind of how easy it is, and yeah, I'm always glad like people bring up platforms, because that's probably the number one piece of feedback that we get from, whenever we talk with customers on this, and they ask us, because they've done some initial research. What do you think about this company? Right.
Yep.
And my answer is pretty much always the same. Like, we're having this call because whatever you tried didn't work.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So it's like, if that company was great and did what you wanted to, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Yeah.
So what we have found with a lot of platforms is, and this may be more technical than people would like to hear, but you hear a lot of the term a thin wrapper on ChatGPT, right? Yep. And they go, okay, well, all this is just taking that little instruction thing and popping into ChatGPT. Well, we use OpenAI for our inference, and it's not such a bad thing to have a thin wrapper in ChatGPT, right? If you think of AI, generative AI, as being electricity, and you said, well, you didn't invent the electricity. You're just using PG&E or Con Ed, right?
Yes.
And we're like, great. There needs to be more services that make it easy for businesses to connect, right? And they just aren't.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, I agree. Okay, so Matthew has a question. Can you give example of the tiers of risk tolerance you see in initial discussions, and what example use case is reasonable to expect at each tier? Okay, that's one question. Then JK's got a good question at all. So can you give examples of the tiers of risk tolerance you see in initial discussions, and what example use case is reasonable to expect at each? So yeah, I think that's a good question. I mean, I think what he's saying is like, what's the example? And I got to jump here in a few minutes, but what's the example of the risk tolerance? I mean, I think the basic deployment that we talked about, which is answer the phone, assess the inbound call, jot down the information, or transcribe it, and then send a notification via email or text to whoever needs to be sent that notification needs to go to. That's the basics. Okay, I don't think there's much risk tolerance that really is needed for that. We do that for local service ads so that we can qualify, so that we can pass the test of getting all the calls and messages responded to in 30 seconds. Beyond that, there's a little bit of a risk tolerance, and this is for intake primarily. You can also use it for customer service, and that definitely can be used for that. there's many other, and to JK's question is, are agents primarily for handling customer questions, or can they have agents that help with research and act more like an assistant? Yes, you can have an agent that acts more like an assistant, a very smart one based on the knowledge base that you've given it, and you can have it answer just customer service questions, and you can create multiple different agents. So you can have one agent for just customer service questions that has a knowledge base for customer service, and that has a prompt created for customer service, and that has that generative that learning that S is talking about, where you fine tune it over time. You want to fine tune it for customer service versus helping with research. That's a whole different prompt. That's a whole different specialty.
And I would say go to ChatGPT, right? Yeah, you have a research assistant. The agents that we're interested in doing, like I said, it's not a tool or a toy. It's doing real world work. So you have the technology to say, hey, look, I pay actual real money employees that do these things, right? You're better off using it to actually do those real things, as opposed to a tool for your employees and building a toy. Like, let's just say a lot of people say internal, it's not ready for prime time, and we have low risk tolerance for saying the wrong thing. We're just going to use it as an internal tool for training and sales, right? And that may be a low risk tolerance and a good use case for people, right? And that may be the right use case. But for the people who have high risk tolerance, that says, hey, look, I'm up to my, over my head with like being able to answer these calls and dealing with customers, right? This is where the AI really helps, is like we're solving a problem that they have, and it's a capacity issue, as opposed to, an exploratory one. So I think a lot of large companies have actually gone through that cycle. Their initial deployment of AI agents has been internal tools, right? And now they're getting more comfortable with it, and they start realizing that this could be actually consumer facing or client facing.
Yes, exactly. And that's what we mean by risk tolerance. If your risk tolerance is such that you can stomach the AI not responding exactly perfectly every time, and by the way, you need less risk tolerance for text versus voice. Okay, I think that goes kind of without saying, but I just want to say that because we've experienced it. So that's why I'm saying, if you can't stomach a lot, just do it with text. Like, just put the AI agent on your website. Put it anywhere that you can have message engagement, like on your local service ads, etc. And then when you've tested it and you've seen the conversation it's going to have, and you've fine-tuned it, then you can expand it out to voice, and you're going to learn even faster. So please jump on the next time. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, please do. We're going to be continuing to have these conversations, and we can go over this the next time. I just, we ran out of time. I got another call right now with another company that wants to leverage this, and we're going to have this same risk tolerance conversation. But yeah, let me know, what other questions you have. Please post comments here. And S, thanks for joining us. And if you guys, do have any questions, you can just text the number on the screen, 619-304-5155. And again, that's 619-304-5155. And any final parting words? Yes?
No. Till next time.
All right. Thank you.
All right, bye, everyone.
Bye.